Hi everyone, so today we're going to be looking at the social learning theory. So this is one of the approaches that we have to learn in our approaches topic, and it comes chronologically after the behaviorism approach, so classical and operant conditioning. So some assumptions. Bandura was the lead researcher in the theory of social learning theory, and he suggested that classical and operant conditioning could not account for all human learning because they aren't looking at what is between the stimulus and response, i.e. the mental processes, the thought processes that are occurring between us seeing something and reacting to it. And therefore he suggests that social learning theory suggests behaviour is learned from experience. So we learn things through observation, and that is in a social context. So the social element of this is really important. So as he said that learning occurs through observation, and in particular, we observe people who we see as role models. These role models are most likely to be someone older than us. It could be our parents, older family members, friends, people on TV, and the rewards and punishments that they receive are similar to, therefore allow us to know whether we're going to copy that behaviour or not. However, learning and performance are not the same thing. We can learn something, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can perform the activity. Like if we are a baby, then that might mean that we're not able to yet walk, but we can see and learn that other people can walk. It's concerned with only human behaviour and not animal behaviour, unlike classical and operant conditioning. And social learning theory sees people as active manipulators, so it recognises that people are in their own environment and therefore can choose what they pay attention to and what they learn. So, some of the main key terms. We've got vicarious reinforcement, which is the idea that we learn through watching others and receiving a reward or consequence. So we see them receive that reward or consequence, and then that means that we're likely to either copy them or not copy them, depending on what it is. So vicarious meaning through other people, and reinforcement meaning the idea that they are being given a reward or punishment. And people modelling a behaviour, someone will model a behaviour, so show us how to walk, for example, and then the other person can copy that behaviour, so they are modelling what they have seen from the first person. A role model, as we say, is someone who you look up to or admire, and can be a friend, family member, someone on TV. Imitation is the idea that we observe a behaviour of a role model that a role model produces, and then we copy it, so we imitate or copy a behaviour. Observational learning is the idea that behaviour is learnt through watching others, and identification is the type of person that we select. So we identify with a particular role model because they are similar to us in some way. That might be a similar age, the same gender, it could be a similar personality characteristic or a trait that we look up to them for. So as it suggests, learning takes place in a social context, and it's all about learning through observation, and we see other people being rewarded and punished, and that helps us to decide what behaviour we will carry out. And in particular, the people who we are observing are our role models, and we imitate or copy the behaviour of the role model, but we'll only copy people who we identify with, who have some similar characteristic or trait as us. So it's kind of an ongoing cycle. We've got the idea that the behaviour is observed, imitated, reinforced, and then we repeat it all over again. So we're going around in a cycle, and that's how we learn. Now, there are mediational processes, and this goes back to what we were saying before about the idea that there is something between the stimulus and the response. So here, this is what thought processes are going on in our mind when we choose to copy or imitate a behaviour. And there are 4 of these. We have to have the motivation to do it, so the will or desire, and that normally occurs because we've seen someone be rewarded for that behaviour. So if they're rewarded, we'll be more motivated to do the behaviour. We have to have paid attention to the behaviour and seen the whole of the behaviour, so from start to finish, including the reward that they get. So if you see your older sibling walking and the parents praise them for being able to walk, and they're able to do that well, then you're more likely to want to walk as well, because you feel that confident in that you will get that same reward for it. You also need to be able to retain that information, so that when you're old enough to be able to walk, you can remember that that's the behaviour that you want to show. And then finally, you need to be able to reproduce behaviour, so you need to consider our own abilities to perform behaviour, i.e., can we walk currently? So there are many strengths and weaknesses of the social learning theory. One of them is that there's support from Bandura et al. Study, which is the Bobo doll study, which found that participants were more likely to be able to copy a behaviour if they'd seen an adult role model do this. Secondly, it's been successful in applying to many areas of psychology. For example, modelling has been used to help treat anxiety disorders. We also realise that, however, that many of Bandura's ideas are staged in a lab, and therefore that means that we might not be able to apply these to the real world, and we might not be able to see these behaviours in real life. However, it also means that because we're focusing on external behaviours, it makes little reference to things like biological factors, so how maybe genes can affect our behaviour. Hope that helps.